Hi guys, Jason here with Roar3 Solutions. I kind of have a little exciting product to talk about, and I also want to give those out there that have sent some comments to me offline about how to model things. I'm going to run through a full series on how to actually model an aircraft. It seems like a lot of people have a hard time understanding the basic concepts of how to make creasing and how to add rivets and screws, and what do you do to make it look good when it's all said and done, because the end result needs to be a clean looking model that you can use either in your own project or in some sort of a more universal type of video stream. It could be mainstream Hollywood even. So I just want to touch on this. So this is just kind of a teaser, so to speak. So this is a beginning of a kit Fox for a customer that I'm working with out of the UK. This will be available as an X-plane flyable model. And what I normally do is I always start with a base plate, a template. So I actually went to the KitFox website, and they have these nice little pictures on these PDFs of the actual aircraft. So I was able to take those, overlay them, and match them generally close to each other. And what you start with is you create these primitive shapes, and I'm gonna kind of walk through in another video how to actually make these components. It does get a little complicated, but don't let it make you nervous, because when it's all said and done, you're going to end up with a model that looks more like this. Now this was the initial release for the customer. And when you take a quick look at it, you go, well, it's not that great looking. It does, however, match still the drawings. It does line up. All the key components go where they need to go. And that's kind of the important takeaway here, is that what you're doing is you're creating something that does match a drawing. It's a little bit more fun to make something that doesn't, and to make it very unique in your own. But when a customer wants a very specific object that isn't available openly on the internet, there's either a reason for it, or no one's actually just created something that they're willing to give out. And so I'm making this model. So as I said, this will be available on X-plane not too far down the road. So what you end up with here, though, and I just want to kind of show, is now I can subdivide. I've designed the model in quads, so when I do decide to go ahead and subdivide the aircraft, it will come out looking nice and clean. That's the goal. You want it to look sharp. You want it to have nice lines, and it takes a lot of work to get there. And you might even see here in my sidebar, I have details no subdivide, because there are some things I don't want to subdivide. They won't look right. So then you go into the next stage, which is where you go into the fun part, which is detailing and rigging. And yes, I will get to this in the next several clips to kind of walk through how to do this. So this is the final product. And in the final product, because I use Cinema 4D, I naturally like to rig everything. And I have a little panel here, so when you look at the file, and even render it out in low resolution, this is what you get. So you still get a fairly clean looking aircraft. It's usable in a flight simulator. It does have a little bit on the higher poly side, because I did create a wing stitch, so it has the appeal of having a fabric wing. That is modeled in. It's not textured, and the end result actually gives you a real nice effect. However, it's always more fun when you actually subdivide things. And the best part about subdividing is, with subdivision on top of using weight maps, you have the ability to really refine and clean up your lines. You'll be able to create these creases without adding a load of polygons. There's still a lot of polygons when it's subdivided, there's no question about that. But there are things that you can do as a modeler to make sure that you have a clean looking model, everything matches, it goes where it needs to go. And then obviously, one of the more important parts of all of this is, when you do want to create a model, you want it to be rigged, so you have the ability to make changes. Sometimes you want to morph things, sometimes you need to just simply change from one component to the next. So in the video I will discuss how to go about creating these pre-selects that I've put into the model. And if I pull up here on the Espresso, it's just a whole lot of simple but timely things that you have to go through and you have to create, and there's thought involved in each process. So how you do different things is very important. So hiding things and then bringing them back, whether you want to render it or not. You can attach all this stuff into, so the turbulators here, you can see them right now, and of course we hide them, and we can hide them as well in the renderer, so it won't render those out. Same thing, you can have different types of configurations to be able to select how you want things to be displayed, and then you get into the fun stuff also, where you get to animate things. And this is really the bread and butter of Cinema 4D, being able to actually animate different parts. It's always fun, it's always challenging, there are things that go wrong. So as you can see here, we have aileron roll, for example, and with the roll we also have the flight stick movement, and same thing with pitch. If I back up here, so I have elevator pitch. Okay, so flight stick and the elevator move. And then we have a flap control, and this is not a final product yet by any means. Things are not organized completely yet, but they will be. But you have a flap control, so you're using flap control with aileron. It does get a little complicated, but like I said, I'm going to teach everyone how to do these kind of motions, because this is kind of the bread and butter of what it is that you might end up wanting. Trim deflection changes as the actual aircraft works. And then you get into some of the more fun things like the constraints. So I have a rudder tag with several constraints to be able to give that control rod feel that it is actually pulling and pull me on the control rods, and it's following into the fuselage appropriately. And just the same, I also will get into some of the constraints with something a little bit more complicated, where you have landing gear that you might want to have adjustable. It needs to be able to rotate, it needs to be able to pivot. You want struts and shocks involved. You can go in and do this dynamically, which is a lot of work and will have a really nice output. I actually tend to make things a little bit simpler. It's easier for me to kind of animate the aircraft and then add in the effect of landing gear jiggle later on. And then the obvious simplified things with doors that also have constraints on them. So you're going to be able to have different constraints that will eventually kind of neatly match up to everything else. So that's it for now, guys. I hope this video kind of motivates you to, if you have questions right off the top, you want to understand something really quick. Happy to respond and try and help out anyone that needs help. This is the community that we're all in. Is we all want to try and make everyone better, and this is kind of the fun part of everything. So for now, that's all I have. Thanks for watching, guys, and as always, happy modeling.